Welcome to They Called Me Mental, a rabble-rousers podcast. We're a group of young adult mental health advocates breaking stigmas and bringing awareness to the reality of life with mental illness. This podcast contains discussions of mental health and substance use. Some topics may be triggering to listeners. Rabble-rousers projects are made possible by community donations to the Coast Foundation Society. Thank you for your support.
Welcome to the Rabble Rousers podcast. I am Louigi, your host today. This podcast centers young adults speaking for themselves. Today, I am here with Ernest.
Yeah, what's up? I got thrown because before you introduced me as Ernie.
I know, and that's where I was just like, oh my God, I messed up already.
No, I don't care. Either one. And that kind of makes it better.
Which one are you more comfortable with?
I don't care.
Ernie is here with us today. This is his first recording with us. We're here to talk about real pressure, real barriers, and lived experience. Ernest, thanks, Ernie.
No, Ernest, I love it.
Thanks for being here.
It's fluid, right?
Let's see. You studied social work and social development for over a decade now. How has all of that theory and education shaped or challenged your personal approach to care and healing today?
Whoa. Okay. I like this question. I guess the biggest thing that frames my perspective on care is trying to operate in the threshold between like working with an individual and working with the collective in a community sense, I guess, because I think a lot of what I see in the quote unquote like work in the work of being a social worker or a helping professional is that a lot of the time the work is directed towards individuals, and like that's how we do like case management, that kind of stuff. There are things like group therapies and like programs, but I think a lot of even maybe how they operate is talking about like an individual's goals or that sort of thing. And I think so much of what I've learned talks about how like what the individuals I've mostly come across and learned about are folks who are left with a difficult time navigating what is considered like the rest of society, or like the reason maybe they're called marginalized is because they are expected to adapt to fit into that. And I think that's where what social work has taught me in that education and all that time of learning and theory and all this stuff is that it's when people don't have those responses that have taught them that they are okay, that they are loved, that they're, when people don't have those good responses, that's what can compound to lead to like mental health and feeling isolated and feeling like you're on the outside. Yeah. And then when that builds up, then you actually do become on the outside.
Yes.
So it's somewhere between the work is too individual, and I hope that we can get more of a collective response to give better responses, to care for people, to hold people, to catch them,
I like that because it's not fair that people should have to go through things like this alone. It is very hard. Nobody should have to do anything alone, honestly.
Right? Yeah.
And being alone and being divided is where we get into situations like these.
Totally.
What's something the mental health system still doesn't get about people like yourself, especially when it comes to identity, expression, or neurodivergence?
Okay. So I'll start off by saying like I don't have any type of like official like diagnosis or label of a type of like neurodivergence.
That is actually something I really appreciate about you, because people are too busy labeling ourselves or others, and that is a concept that mostly Western society struggles with. So
yeah. Thank you. So yeah, I guess neurodiversity just means there is diversity, right? It's like human social diversity. It's the neuro just means our brains, which I think the reason that is such a buzzword right now is because we also with a Western sort of, lens, is we're focused on labeling people's behaviors. Like we're trying to tell people they have to adjust their behaviors. And that's earlier today, you and I had kind of talked a little bit about like that word sociality, and like it's the way you perform your actions, right? Your behaviors.
Right.
And so I think that's where too much is focused on the brain. Like the brain is seen as the center of the human almost in like a Western liberal cultures. And so like the heart, the feeling, the spirit, the way the body holds and can feel things like emotion, like that stuff is like seen as lesser than or separate from the brain, right? And so this is why I think that word neurodiversity is getting so much attention.
People don't realize this is actually all connected, so they should really check into things like that.
Yeah.
What's a piece of wisdom or survival strategy you wish more young queer people had access to? You being a queer person yourself.
Cool. I like that question. You said survival strategy?
Yeah, something that kept you alive, loud, or soft when you needed it most.
Alive, loud, or soft. Well, that's beautifully said. So I think it kind of connects back to that previous thing. I think it's this sense of separation, this sense that I'm alone. I think I learned a lot about that when I was doing my master's, particularly I took a really great course in like therapeutic group processes. And I think what I learned was a lot of the people who that hesitation before you take that leap to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like, the leap to say, hey, I want to go to a mental health community center. That leap to say, hey, I want to join a program or I want to talk to a counselor. That threshold, I think, is hard for almost everyone I've met.
Yeah.
And I think that what I learned was a lot of people can imagine ourselves as like too messed up. Oh, can I swear?
I just like
there. Well, I'll keep it light. So like we can imagine ourselves as like too broken or too messed up for other people to understand. We imagine that like the thing that makes us messed up is so unique and somehow so abnormal or so bizarre that other people won't understand.
Yeah.
And so we're so scared to let that out.
That's just in our own selves, in our own thoughts.
Yeah.
Everybody has these thoughts. We are all literally like, everybody goes through the exact same things.
Yeah.
What's in you is in me, is in the person across the world you don't even know.
Yeah. And so then how do we this is, I think, maybe that challenge between the individual and the collective is how do we collectivize diversity of those things?
And
you're not alone. You're not a scary monster.
Make it the norm.
Yeah.
New norm.
You are a monster just as much as I'm a monster,
Exactly.
And
we're monsters together.
Yeah. Exactly.
You describe yourself as a radical individual. What does being radical mean to you in this moment? How do you live your life day to day?
Wow. Okay. So this is like when hearing that, I had this like moment of embarrassment because I feel like we did these like pre-interview questions like 6 months ago. And so I'm listening to that question and I obviously know that I said the stuff that informed that.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to me in this moment, I want to soften my radicalness a bit. Or soften my claim to be radical. Because I think like everyday life is political. And I think a little bit of turning back to the last question again, like the advice or the thing is that like, I think some of my own stress and some of the things I see in other people, particularly maybe younger people or what I see online is people imagining like when we see problems are interconnected and we can see it on like a societal or a structural level, we imagine everything's so big and the problems are so large that it's almost immobilizing knowing what to do. And so a big thing I'm holding on to lately is like literally just looking at what's in front of you, like what's the next step. And so like our everyday actions, our everyday steps, literally just talking to someone near you and showing up the way you want community to be, showing up in the ways you dream it could be, but just finding like the tiniest moments in your day-to-day life, not holding them too precious, but just going for it and just trying to show up and trying to be that way, even if you're tired, even if it's hard, even if you don't get it right, just acting on it and doing it. And it's maybe small and it seems like it's not going to change the world, but I think just going for it.
Just going for it.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. Try.
You've also done drag for over 10 years. What did drag give you that the world didn't? Ooh.
So I love the question, but I also hate the question.
Okay.
Because I feel like something drag, but also just being a queer person moving through different queer communities and different queer like spaces. I think one of my biggest like frustrations at times has been when I felt like I thought queerness and queer spaces was an escape from the wider inequalities of like patriarchal hierarchies and all this stuff that's in the wider society, and racism and all these other things, and sexism. But like the queer communities, and I think more and more people are seeing this, and especially younger generations, maybe, I don't know, but like, so an example can be that like, I think even though things have changed and it feels like things have had some positive directions in the like performing communities, in like drag communities, largely it's been like cis gay men who operate as drag queens who have held the most amount of opportunities in drag and get paid the most and to have the most visibility. But then meanwhile, traditionally in queer communities and historically, queer women and femme folks and sapphic folks and even trans folks are oftentimes sidelined. And it's historically been done, and it kind of still happens in different ways. So I'm like, where is the equality? Where is the inclusion? Like, we haven't really changed much, but we have these like buzzwords of inclusion, of like everyone's welcome, this is a safe space and all this stuff. And it's like, you can say that, but then how do we keep it open for interrogation?
Yeah, the labeling and the grouping just it runs deep.
Yeah. So I would say the thing that drag taught me was almost like, we got to be careful not to overclaim that we're doing the work, and to be, I want to be critical, but in a way that brings people together, not critical in like shame or bullying.
Positive.
Yeah. How does like positive critique? Absolutely. There's an author I like who talks about that. But yeah. So how do we give positive critique that like generates collectivity, that generates belonging, but also make sure that we're not avoiding who's being ostracized? When we say this place is for everyone, how do we make sure we're actively questioning and being sincere when someone says, actually, this space wasn't for me?
Yeah, we have to be willing to listen to the truths of everybody, and only then can we truly be what we say we are.
Yeah, buddy.
How have your identities, queer, radical, academic, creative, clashed or complemented with each other over the years?
I guess that radical one, because at first when you were saying that, I was like, oh, once again, I'm like, am I a soft radical? Which I like. I'm not mad about it, but
I think it depends on the mood, but go ahead.
The mood, the day, absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, so many things depending on the mood.
Thank you. But I would have to say that the big lesson I've been relearning in the last like year to 2 years is when I get rattled by something, when I see something's not fair, I see something's not right, like my reactivity to that. I think what I'm learning now is some of when I go to speak up and some of when I'm trying to speak out, I have learned that sometimes I'm like spitballing fire all around me, and I'm like burning down the camp that I'm trying to be in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So there's sometimes people who are like, wait a minute, we were trying to help you, or we're on your side. And I'm just like,
yeah, you're just lashing.
And so, yeah. And I want, that's, I think maybe why I'm trying to be more of a soft radical, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned not resonating with your diagnosis. What about it didn't sit right with you? And what do you feel could have helped you feel more seen or understood?
Oh, okay. I'm like, this question now, I feel more ready for it. I thank you for the warm up. I like that, because this is
much needed.
So, one, the process. So when I got a diagnosis, I had a friend who was doing a nursing degree, and I'm very thankful to them for doing this, but they knew I hadn't like gotten out of bed in a few days. I hadn't showered, couldn't go to work, all that, signs of something's not right.
Yeah.
Not eating, all that good stuff. And so my friend took me to the Center for Addiction and Mental Health in Toronto and brought me there in a cab. And being in that place, being, when you're in a waiting room for hours under like, I don't know, what do you call these, like fluorescent lighting?
Yeah.
And in this waiting room, just the way it sets you up, the way it like buzzes in you feels so, right? And so then being like that and the nervousness of what's next and like, okay, maybe I do need to find a way to connect to some help. I do need something to move me through this or help me or guide me or something. And then I met with a psychiatrist, maybe for like 30-ish to 40 minutes. Person I only ever met once, and was asked a series of questions from the DSM, the Diagnostical Statistical Manual. And basically, and there were things like, it was about like that my parents got divorced when I was young, and that like I moved to a different house or something like that. And they're like, oh, now you have this diagnosis and you're like, you're messed up.
Yeah.
And now you're a broken person and all this stuff. And I was just like, so then they put me on a wait list for a DBT like group thing. And at the time I was kind of really against the idea of being in a group to do this stuff.
Yeah. A little bit willful there.
And now I'm like, now that I've been like being of like a master's social work student about group therapeutic processes, I'm like, oh my God, the group process is actually so great. Why was I so resistant? I was scared though. I was so scared to like air my stuff out with other people, right?
So even I can say for myself, I just recently have been doing my DBT group. I've been in it for about 3 months now. And at first I was like, yeah, there's no way in hell I want to do group therapy. What is that about? But I'm doing it now. It's been 3 months and it's comfortable. It's nice because then you don't have to be embarrassed about whatever it is you're going through, because everybody in the group is going through the same thing. It's a safe space. You're allowed to share. And then you also get just like information or ideas or understanding from everybody else's experience. So you can use that for yourself in your own life.
Right.
So it's actually a very helpful group.
Yeah. No, I think that's amazing. And I that's another piece. I wish that was out there more. Like at least for me, that would have been helpful to hear someone else who had been like gone through the stuff to be like, the group process is really good. And it's
because like we said, we all go through the same thing. Like we all think we're the only person who's ever done something like this or that or the other. Nah, we all the same.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And so group process, I don't know if I fully answered the resonating thing, but I guess that's where it's like, I had this like label put on me, right? And I was kind of told I was like this. Like it almost was thinking about identities, I guess. It was like this thing that was like tattooed to my DNA or something. I felt like it was this thing. They're like, oh, you can change, but like it was a very specific process, right? Yeah. So I think it was because diagnoses, I don't know how you say that, but like some people find them freeing or helpful or comforting, and I'm not anti-diagnosis, but I think we should take really good care about what they do and what they can do.
I think people should not become so attached to the diagnosis or whatever it is, because for me, like before I even knew anything about mental health, and I thought I was, I don't know, sane, fine. I thought I was normal, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh wow, something must be wrong or something. So there's nothing wrong. It's just the system. It's just the world. It's just life.
Yeah, and I think also like families and communities, right? Like I think a lot is that we learn about the world and we learn about how to respond to it.
Exactly.
From our situations, from our context, right? Yeah. And so
it's different for everybody. Not everybody gets the same. We're not all going to have the same run.
Yeah. And I think that's where we're in such a society where everyone's expected so much to operate and perform the same way. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff on social media, at least that I see, and what gets put into my algorithms or whatever, that talks about mental health and talks about all this stuff. But I still feel like we're in a really particular time where people are really obsessed with like labeling and identifying behaviors and like, what attachment style are you and all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, I feel like it's still even some of the stuff that's about mental health and questioning society, I feel like still is very much so making people focus way too much on like our behaviors and our thoughts and categorizing us, when we're all just human and we all need a little bit more love and compassion, and people throughout all of our world, not just our friends and our close people, but more people holding some space for like understanding and softening. I mean, like, dude, is that hard for you? Okay.
Any questions you have for me, myself?
Ooh, for you yourself. I guess, yeah, I'd love to ask you, because this is, you know that I'm doing graduate school and I want to be doing my own research that's coming up. And so something I'm really interested in and I want to dig into is, so sort of like the lines in society that create separation and create difference. I think one of them I'd really love to, in an ongoing, like never ending way, like question, where are the lines? Because we do need lines. We do need separation.
100%.
But some of them are seen in the world as almost as if they're like permanent or they have to be there. And I'd love to keep a lot of them on the move and questioning them. And one that I'd really love to hear from you in ways that might be, what can folks like myself who maybe do have some lived experience, who, or any of us who end up on the other side as like the employees, as the frontline workers, what separations do we create between maybe like the worker and the client or service user that aren't helpful? Like, when is there idea that we are separate and we're different that actually doesn't help?
This question actually speaks a lot to me, because I've actually recently been thinking, like for myself, when I've been going to like, when I've been accessing resources at youth shelters, homeless shelters, or anything, most of the workers that are there are people who are my age or are younger than me.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's very weird and confusing.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, there's definitely such a big line right there. And it's like, I'm just a person who needs some assistance. You don't have to, you're not better than me just because you're working here and you have this job. A lot of people sadly take that ground, and they're like, so yeah, I think a lot, you definitely have to have some sort of a line to keep, things safe for both parties. But I do feel there should be some sort of a separation for sure. We should be able to do more things together outside of, maybe not outside of the area, but like together loosely inside the area. I think we're all adults. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we can hold adult conversations and adult feelings without being over familiar or whatever.
I don't know what that means. Like, what is over familiar, right?
Over familiar is like when you're just,
I do know what you mean, but I think that, I wonder if there's I don't know, maybe there's so much fear from where it might go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There's too much fear where things could go wrong. Oh, it could go this way.
So then it creates this idea that we're like, we're so
it
different.
creates this barrier, and then we're just put into that barrier. So
do you think that it has to do with the notion of like structuring societies or organizations in like hierarchies?
I think we just need more community things, honestly.
Yeah.
People just need to be doing, like, spending more time together at times when they're not supposed to be working.
Yeah.
Like outside of work. People are like, put their work over everything, when that's like, life is more than just work.
Yeah.
Totally. People like we should be eating together, sharing meals together, going on outings together. We already go on outings, but we could
but it kind of, I think they're starting in there. So the outings are still like a staff member has to like.
The staff member has to take us there. You can't do anything without a staff member or, you know, we like.
Yeah, there's some sense of like, it kind of feels a bit like if there's a like a film or a residue over it.
Yeah.
That feels still reminiscent of like the institutions.
Yeah.
Right? Like where people were like locked up.
Yeah.
Right? There's something in there that still feels like like someone has to be in charge of you or something.
Yeah. Definitely. And yeah, it's confusing and it's weird. It's I don't really know how we would get, other than what I've already said. I'm not sure how we would get around that.
Well, I guess
there are definitely ways. We just need to be more friendly.
Yeah.
Be loving and kind and caring for each other. That's really all.
Cool. Yeah, I think at least what I feel from your response is that like that interrogation of that separation is needed.
Yeah. And like I feel like things like sharing things that are going, like just being real with the other person. Like you can, like, if I ask you a question, you should be able to answer it. If it's like something about your life or something, it's because I'm asking to, you know, because I want to know things from, I need inspiration from you. You're my age or younger than me, and you're still, I don't know.
I'm older than you.
What? Not you, but whoever it is.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But whoever it is I'm talking to, or whoever it is that is running the center, you know.
Yeah.
We're human. Just talk to me, you know. Like,
I wonder then, maybe you don't have this off the top of your head, but do you think that there's some like assumptions that aren't true or aren't helpful that shape that? Like, do you think maybe workers hold an assumption in their mind that is getting in the way of answering truthfulness?
Definitely sometimes. I think most of it is just they feel like they should keep their lives private.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of it is like possibly embarrassment because they're working there, and then they think they're a little bit higher because they're working or because they have housing or whatever it is.
Whoa.
Because because I'm I'm going to them to ask for whatever it is I need, they feel it whatever they feel, and they can use that, and that can be tricky sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like that feels like in me that feels like a deep like ache or a sadness, right, on that. And I guess like thinking about the DBT skills and stuff like that, I'm like, this is where like, is this my research? But I'm like, is there a way we open that up and share that together to open it up between service users and workers to question that, to give some room to say like, can we check it? Can we, question it, open it up? Can we move it? Can we shift it? Can we make room for something different?
Yeah. Because
that question or that ache I had, that sadness, is because like I know you're not wrong,
right? Not entirely. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in other people's lives. It sucks.
Yeah, and so
it's like, yo, like I'm literally older than you. Like from my own stories, I have stories where it's like I'm literally older than you, and you're gonna refuse to give me a bed because of whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
It's like, how do you sleep at night type thing? Like what?
Yeah. And so
like I have some crazy stories.
I believe you. I have some myself. Yes, I've seen some things.
I believe it.
On both ends of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess I think too, when you said like, how do you sleep at night? A quote came up in my head. I think it was from the textbook that I read in that group therapy course that I took. Some guy named Yalom, he said something along the lines that like, unfortunately, many social workers hide behind a shield of positive intentions. It's like they think that they're doing the good thing, so they almost wear that as like this block from questioning themselves or allowing other people to question what they did.
Yeah.
Like, nope, I have good intentions. I'm doing the good thing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's there, but it doesn't, right? It's not an excuse, but that's
that
maybe
goes
what's
deep. That's a long story too. Yeah, we could go into that for a while.
Where are we at?
I think I'm gonna wrap it up with a couple more questions here, a couple lighter questions. If say you could speak to 15-year-old Ernie, what would you want him to know about the future, and what would he be surprised by?
Damn, I knew you were gonna make me emotional. I want to swear at you. Oh man, like the cheesiest line came up ever. Like, oh, it gets better, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
because it gets actually a lot worse. After 15, it gets a lot worse. Actually,
it will always get worse before it gets better.
I guess for me,
but that's good.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, so I think it's that like even the people who hurt you, or even the people you feel like aren't there, or the people who don't understand you, like maybe it won't always be like that. You can double back. Maybe you do need to check and question some of your own assumptions, right? Because I think it's like when you're young like that, when you have an experience that informs your brain about the way the world is, it hurts. And you're like, you learn a lesson from that, right? You're like, wow, I got wounded. I want to protect myself. And I think some of the ways I learned lessons were almost too, like I tried to make them universal. Like that experience, that one thing that happened to me was the way the world was. And I think I was so scared, and I felt so like it affected me so much. I was so scared something else could get me like that, that I thought that being tougher and being harder, tougher in meaning that like be cold or be hard, or like, life's hard, so be hard, play the game. That's how you get ahead. I think that level of thinking was, and I really wanted to be cool. I really wanted people to like me. I was such a weirdo growing up, and I was a weird kid.
Attention
seeker,
right? Yeah.
And so I was like, wait, what do cool people do? And I was so messed up. Around that time is when it started. I was really, really interested in like thinking about, and I guess the neurodivergent thing was that like I was constantly looking at what are other people doing, and how do I learn to do that? And I learned how to, do all that stuff. I think that's the stuff that messed my mental health up the most. Was trying to be like other people,
kind of somebody else.
Yeah, because I thought I would receive acceptance, or I thought I'd belonging. I thought I would feel seen.
Yeah.
And I think that's the worst it got. Was the more I tried, the more it wasn't actually me, the lonelier I got. And that's when like the lowest of the low was there. I was like,
really,
it didn't work.
You really have to find yourself. Yeah. Really, honestly.
So cheesy, but true.
Really find yourself.
How do
be
you
yourself?
Yeah. And that's individual. The finding yourself, to be yourself.
Yeah. Only you can do that. Nobody else is going to do that for you. People will influence you and help you and like support you and stuff, but only you can do that.
Sounds like we're making motivational posters or shirts now.
Put me on a shirt.
We can get cheesy up in here. Okay, I like it.
If let's say your drag persona was like in charge of law, like prime minister or something,
Ooh, yeah, I'd love to be
in charge of everything.
Yeah,
had got to make the rules and all that.
Yeah.
What would their platform be, and what laws would they pass? Tell us about your drag persona.
Yeah, so I think Miss Everlasting would. I guess I'll first, as quickly as I can, me with I'm so good at being quick and concise with my words, but my inspiration for how Eva operates in the world has been from women I saw when I grew up who seemed like, like stoic, like they just seemed like majestic, like they seemed like tall, poised. They had this like quiet, calm grace where they seemed like they knew what they were doing in the world. They knew how to hold people, how to be gentle, but they knew how to cut through. And they had that gentle, soft, like gravity about them. I was like, I want to be like that. I want to be like someone who doesn't need to yell, scream, and so I guess when I think about, because doesn't sound like a drag queen, right?
No.
So I think
sounds like a mom, almost like some type of mom I've never heard of.
Exactly, like a good mom, like a mom who's like, I'm only gonna yell at you if you need it.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna hold my ground, and I'm gonna just be like the soft, quiet, beautiful, majestic, strong. Like the strength was in a quiet beauty, and I think, that's how I would lead, or Eva would lead, with this like less words.
I believe if you were leading like that, I believe we would be I think we'd be going somewhere. Yeah, doing things, big things. Well, I really appreciate you for coming onto the podcast, Ernie. Is there anything else you would like to say before we wrap up?
No, I feel really honored. And then when we did the pre-interview in whatever it was, the summer or something.
We did the pre-interview quite a while ago.
Yeah, you got me emotional. I cried real tears.
We got him emotional again.
And I was impressed by your interview skills. I am once again. So I'm actually really honored to be here with you. So thanks for this opportunity.
I appreciate you being here with me as well. I appreciate Coast Mental Health for giving me this opportunity and giving us this opportunity as young adults to speak our minds, speak our truths, and say what we really want to say. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
That's it, though.